So welcome back to the Photography Show. We're here on Sunday. I'm here with Russ Jackson. Welcome, Russ, again. Good to see you. It's been a really busy show. It's been a good show for us. We've had some great customers come and see us, and many of them have also scanned up for their chance to win a free 96-inch Chromlux panel. So if you're still here at the show, or you're back here on Tuesday after the Queen's funeral, don't forget to come by and see us, scan your badge, and then you can enter to win 96-inch Chromlux panel. Russ and I have had a talk earlier on, which you'll find in the Academia page, which is about his progression of business and moving forward into product. We're going to touch now much more closely on the detail behind the reveal wall and why it's been successful for him. So, Russ, welcome again. Good to see you. So, you and I have known each other quite some time, and when I saw you start up in your own business, I watched you grow slowly but surely, and you're doing quite well, you're quite happy with things. So tell me a little bit more about how your business kind of transformed itself and what was going on at that time.
Well, I think the big transformation for me in the last 5 years, definitely in the last 5 years, is I underpriced myself a lot in the first few years of starting my business.
You and many other photographers.
Yeah. So. And what happened is I got very busy very quickly, and I found that I didn't have time to do things ideally the way I wanted, and doing my shoots and then actually doing in-person sales. Just didn't have enough hours in the week, and I found that I was doing more and more online galleries just because of time restraints. And with online galleries, I found that most people, and obviously my own fault as well, and that I was offering digital-only packages. So these things, USBs, and I found that when you're selling digital-only packages, there's a ceiling. Once you start getting to that four-figure mark, £1,000, and you say thank you very much for the money, but this is what you get in return, I feel that there could possibly be that feeling of disappointment, or my customers not getting the value or feeling that they're getting value for money.
Yeah, and I think that's very true. The actual true value of the photograph is when it's seen time and time again.
Yeah.
And when people begin to understand that value and how much it means to them, they can only really see that by seeing it up on the wall or seeing it in print in some way.
So we had that chat back in 2017 where you came to visit a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. We share an office. That was at the point where I was very, very close to burning out completely. I was doing 60, 70-hour weeks, shooting, editing, trying to keep up with production, trying to keep up with admin, all the rest.
Not spending time with your family.
Yeah, and not spending time with my family. So I was putting a lot of pressure on my personal relationships, and still not achieving the financial goals that we had set ourselves. So it was all work, no work-life balance, not making enough money. And I remember you saying to me then, double your prices. And you didn't even know what my average order was. You didn't have to know. So by doubling my prices, obviously by doing that, making double the amount of money, that's half the amount of work in order to make the same margins. And I remember being very skeptical a moment, right? I didn't say anything to you on the day, but I thought,
yeah, whatever. Yeah, what does he know?
Who's going to pay £1,500, £1,600 for photography? But at the same time, coincidentally, we'd signed up to Supervised Education. As you know, Supervised is the master of the business side of photography and how to achieve that work-life balance. And one of the first videos I watched on that channel was the sales videos. I'm a terrible salesperson, and we were introduced to the reveal wall.
Can I just comment on one thing? I hear this a lot from George. I'm a terrible salesperson, and I think that's because many people have a jaundiced view of what selling is. That many people think that selling is like car salesman. It's high pressure.
Yeah.
It's about closing, and actually, selling isn't.
Yeah.
Selling, the real definition of selling, is not the transaction of goods or services for money. It's being present at a time when somebody wants the service or the product that you have that will fulfill their emotional needs.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely the case that if you change your viewpoint on what selling is, it will make your life so much easier.
Yeah. I also think as photographers, generally, especially in my industry, in the newborn industries, we tend to be very I don't know what the right word is, but we're very giving. We want our clients to be happy.
Yeah.
We want them to leave thinking they've had a great experience, which obviously they have had already. But
Yeah.
we feel that, or I was terrible with the sales prior to doing online galleries. Before I got busy, I was doing in-person sales, but more of a digital experience. But I caught myself all the time offering 10% discounts, £200 off, £300 off, all these things.
You put your values
Yes.
on what something was worth on your client.
I felt that I was making them happy.
I wouldn't pay for that, so why should they?
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll talk about sort of getting over those hurdles later. But what I found, obviously with the reveal wall, what that offered me, the penny clicked, and I've got a slide here. The penny clicked that by offering a printed product and showing them the final product, in other words, they could take those images, see them, feel them, smell them, fall in love with them, and all they had to do was pay me and take them home. It changed the whole psychology of it. I didn't have to try and sell it to them because the images or the final product sold itself.
Yeah.
And the other thing, obviously, what I realized at the time is transitioning from doing mostly digital-only collections to doing printed collections, is that I was going to be charging more. I did have to double my pricing. But I had to offer more value, and then I also had to, in my messaging, so both on social media and obviously on my website, that I needed to educate my clients on why the printed product is so much more valuable than the digital product in order to justify the costs. So I created this slide, which is on my website. It's very small for you guys, but it says here, how would you like your images stored in 20 years' time? Now I'm old enough to remember stiffy, floppy drives.
You and me both.
It's like 80s, 90s floppy drives. The stiffies, obviously CDs first, then DVDs, and now these things. And these are even being phased out now. You have to buy a dongle now to put them in a new computer. I still get clients from 5-6 years ago phoning me in a panic saying, Russ, I didn't save my images. I've got the DVD, but I don't have a computer that can read a DVD anymore.
Or USBs, if you don't plug them in, they can die.
They can corrupt.
A bit like Tamagotchis.
Absolutely.
If you didn't touch them and play with them, they die.
Whereas something like this, like our mums, like our grandmothers, created beautiful, they only had physical photographs and created those beautiful albums of when we were growing up. My mum still has those at home. It's the first thing we do when we visit is have a look at those albums.
We've had a few speakers on today, and every single one of them has said, when I've been to a funeral or I've been to see my grandparents, the thing that we do is we pull out all the old albums and we take a look. From the funerals was the primary one. Oh, my aunt died. We were clearing through her stuff and we found the wedding album where my dad was 10 years old and they'd never seen that.
Yeah. Well, my parents are in South Africa, so we don't visit that often. And my oldest, in particular, is a clone of me when I was at his age. So whenever we would visit family members here, they would say, "Oh, Danny, you look just like your father when he was 5 or 6 or 7." And the first thing when we landed for the first time in South Africa, when we were sitting down, really exciting time for them, their first big international holiday. And we sat down in the living room, my mum made some tea, and he was sort of, he was so excited. And I was like, don't worry, we're going to go and do this tomorrow. And he said, no, I want to see the pictures. I want to see the pictures of you when you were 10.
Yeah.
And my mum was so excited, and she got all the albums, and we spent the first 3 or 4 days of 3-4 hours of our holiday
just
looking at pictures of me growing up and my brother, and it was such an amazing experience, which just wouldn't have been the same if we were looking at a phone.
And you wouldn't have done, would you?
Yeah.
It would have been a swipe left, swipe, and that would it. You wouldn't see them in context.
Absolutely. And our clients, I think, when, obviously my clients are all obviously aware of my prices at the first point of contact, when they email me or if they phone me, whatever. So to it's not a justification, but to show them the value and what they get with it, you need to be able to show them something on your website. Or obviously, if they're visiting your studio, you need these products to show them where the value is.
Yeah.
For instance, if I give that to my clients and I say, well, that's £1,500 worth versus that is £1,000 worth. They see the value. And my clients still do get digital images. They get a digital copy of every print they buy. So they're actually getting both.
Yeah.
And that's the same price as an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
To me, well, I can ask
which will
any
change
one of
every
my
year
clients.
or every other year.
Yeah, but I can ask every one of my clients, once they've been through the experience of having their baby photographed, having their album in their hands and saying, well, there it is, but you know what, give that back to me, but here's a nice fancy iPhone. They're worth the same, but which one's she going to take?
Which one has the true value?
She's going to take that any day of the week, because in 10 years' time, these images have gained in value, but the iPhone is in a drawer somewhere. So, you know, people do see the value in printed products, and that's where the reveal wall comes into it.
So let's explain to everybody about the reveal wall process, how it works, how it's worked for you in the transition process, so people can start to understand this sales method of what's worked really well for you.
Well, it's basically going back to the old days. I've been around in photography long enough where we actually would do our sessions. The clients would come back a week later and we would show them proofs that would be laid out, and they would see physical pictures and then make their purchasing decisions on that. And essentially that's what the reveal wall is. So the reveal wall is showing the final product. So in other words, all the editing has been done. And if it's structured in the right way, it is so easy to achieve, you know, your financial goals wherever you feel that your pricing needs to be structured. So here's a picture of the reveal wall. Now my collections, I have 3 different collections. I have a collection of 5 prints, I have a collection of 10 prints, and I have a collection of 20 prints. We'll go through to my pricing guide here. So basic collection 100, standard collection 1,500, that's 10 prints, and my deluxe collection is 2,000, which is 20. So there's quite a big jump from the 10 to the 20.
For those of you that can't see this, we'll share some of these slides with this interview, so you can actually see some of those slides.
Absolutely. And then I have an ultimate collection as well. So the ultimate collection is essentially the same as the deluxe collection, but I've added a wall art collection and some gift prints in there as well. Now that's quite highly priced in the sense that it's £2,500 more than my deluxe collection. But psychologically, when our clients are looking at your pricing guide, they're always going to gravitate to the middle. So this isn't there. I mean, I love to sell it. If a client comes in and says, I love everything, I'll go for Ultimate Collection, well, that's a home run.
Well, Bambi Control, if anyone remembers her, she used to say, I will put my out of reach collection in. If somebody buys that more than twice, then I'm going to put my price up.
Absolutely. So, so basically, that's there to make my deluxe collection look more mid-priced. But where it comes, where reveal wall really comes into its own is in the actual shoot. You need to be photographing in a way that you're creating at least 25, in my case, because my top collection is 20. I need to be producing 25 stunning images of which no 2 are similar.
That's a key thing, isn't it?
Because when they're looking at all those pictures, I want them to fall in love with every single one. I don't want them to look at that one and say, well, those 2 are similar, so we don't need this one, and those 2 are similar, so we don't need this one.
I'll tell you what would maybe be useful at some point if we share maybe a slideshow with
a typical session
to show what a session might be, so people can see what you do.
And remember, with newborn photography, you can add variety very easily by, a baby in the same pose. I think I might have it in here actually. A baby in the same pose, but just photographing it from a different angle, adding an accessory or a wrap. And creating 2 very different pictures within minutes of each other. The baby hasn't moved, and you've got 2 very, very similar images. They're probably going to be right at the back. There we go. So this baby, there's probably about 2 minutes between those 2 images. Baby without the accessory, photographed in or displayed in color, adding a wrap, changing the camera angle, shooting a portrait, and you have 2 completely different images where mum can't decide between the 2. She needs them both. So, obviously for reveal wall to work effectively, you do need that variety.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is when my customers come back a week later after their session, I want them to look at that wall and just think, oh my goodness, how are we going to choose? Because they've probably had that discussion in the car on the way to the reveal session, where the person who controls the purse strings has probably said, you know what, I think the 10 image collection, you know, the middle one, that's about that's all we need. But when they see those images, in order to have that collection, they need to get rid of 15 images. That's more than half. And that is a lot of the time.
You
very
mentioned a really good point there, actually, when you said about controls the purse strings. Often we know that there's a certain value that most people can make their own decisions. But if they're in a relationship, whatever that relationship is, those decisions over a certain value become joint decisions, or sometimes they're one partner's decision.
Yeah,
that's why it's so important
that
to get both those decision makers in the process, both in the shoot if you possibly can, but not for it not to be a surprise.
Yeah. So what I say to that is before, obviously at the session, I also know that they're going to be coming back a week later. So I do say, look, let's choose a time that suits both of you. But also I say, look, you know, when you're choosing a folio box like this, a display book, it's almost like a piece of furniture. It's going to be something that sits in your home. And just when it comes to choosing curtains or choosing a sofa, you both need to be part of that decision-making process. And also, if I am going to upsell to wall art, they also both need to be present.
And I guess that's what's nice about this too, is it means that they can change the picture every day, twice a day, whenever they want to, depending on what they want, what the mood they're in.
And they can also design the box with me at the session to suit their home. Right. So we had a client the other day that has a beautiful orange sofa. They've got a very sort of minimalistic home, but just to liven up their living room, they've got this beautiful orange sofa. And we managed to create a box, obviously with the huge range of cover options that suited their home just perfectly.
And we've got leather, we've got vegan leather, we've got linens,
the touch materials are nice as well.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of options. You know, we're not just in black and white. Absolutely. I think that's absolutely the key thing.
Yeah. So getting back to the reveal wall. So my customers arrive. They see the reveal wall. They realise straight away that it's going to be a difficult situation.
So do you sit with them?
No, I don't. So they arrive. Obviously, I introduce them. Welcome them back to the studio. I go over the pricing guide with them again. They have a hard copy. They do know the pricing already, but I just sort of go over it again. I say, look, there's your pictures. You've got the three options: the 5, standard, or the basic, the standard, and the deluxe collection. 5, 10, 20. Take off the ones that you like, put them in a pile. Keep the ones that you don't like on the wall. You work it out how you want to do it. I'm going to go grab myself a cup of coffee. Do you want one? And I leave them. Because I know, from a personal point of view, if you're trying to make quite a big decision when it comes to finances, you don't want a salesperson lurking around. So I give them sort of 10 minutes to, just have quiet time and marvel at those pictures and to come to a decision. And this is what's amazing about the reveal wall is I'm terrible at sales. I don't have to sell because they sell themselves.
Do you know what? There's a couple of things that I've identified why many photographers don't like selling their own work. It's because if somebody doesn't buy it, you think it's a personal
an ego thing
on your photography.
Yeah.
But it really isn't. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's because you haven't done your job beforehand
to
make people understand the true value of those photos and what they mean to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. We talk at length about these things. I think there's something for people to remember. It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's not a criticism of your
I think
work.
because we are artists and we create that art, we're very much attached to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get really frustrated when the favorite picture that I think is the real winner in the session is the one that they take off the wall first to exclude.
How can you possibly do that? Yeah.
So normally I bring their coffee 10 minutes later and they're sitting there normally scratching their heads thinking, oh, what are we going to do? So I'll say, well, how are you getting on? And they'll say, well, look, I'll be honest with you, Russ, we thought we were going to go for your standard collection of 10 prints, but obviously that's going to be pretty difficult for us. So I say, well, look, okay, my 10 image collection is £1,500. The top collection is 20 prints. That's an extra £500, I know. But what if I gave you all the images? So in other words, if I give you the whole wall, 25 images. So that gives you 5 more images. Plus now you don't have to choose. You don't have to leave any of them behind. And usually that will settle the deal, because mum's ecstatic that she gets them all. They don't have to argue anymore which ones they like best and which ones to leave behind. And I've offered them much better value.
And you're selling that to them at your 20 image price?
Yeah, so that's 2,000. So I've made an extra 500, but they have got an extra 15 prints.
And of course, your cost on that's very low
It's
because
the
it's the mounts and the prints.
So it's just the mounts and the prints. Because whether I order from Graphia a 10 image box or a 10 image box,
there's no difference,
in the
cost
price.
Yeah, so it's just the amount of mounts.
But also with my session fee, I've structured my session fee to cover the top option. My session fee covers a 25 image box with the printing.
So all of
the
this
clients
is
have
extra
already
cash.
paid for it.
Right.
They don't realise that, obviously, but it's, So basically what that does is it solves them 2 problems. They're now going from £150 a print to an £80 a print, almost half the price per print. Plus they don't have the decision-making process to go. So quite often, more often, I'd say half the time they would say, that's a fantastic offer, thank you very much, shake my hand, and then we'll move on to designing the box for them. But sometimes I'll say, look, it's not so much that we need all the images. 10 is too few, but we don't need 20. So I'll say, okay, well, there's an option. 10 images cost me 1,500. 20 images cost you 2,000. Why don't we do an offer where you get 15 images for 1,750? So we split the number and we split the price in between. So in reality, I actually have a middle collection here,
which you can throw in if you need
but
to.
I don't.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not
It
an option.
Keeps it simple.
It's not an option because I want that first option to get them up by offering those 5 extra. So I'm using those 5 extra prints as bargaining
bonus,
chips
isn't it?
to boost them up to my top range. Yeah, and it works every time.
So
every time.
do you feel then that your home life work balance has changed?
Absolutely. And the first time, because after our talk, and we had to, we did have to change things with the business when we went from mostly offering. We did a Jason, a mutual friend. He helped me with getting the website looking a little bit more luxury. We changed the branding, and then obviously we started pushing.
If you create your website as a luxury brand, if you create your service as a luxury service, there are people in every part of the value pyramid.
Yeah.
And ensuring that you're targeting the people in the value pyramid that you want. And I don't mean the financial value. I mean the value in terms of how they value their children, their babies and their family. And people will find the money for the things that they truly, truly value. And if that's their children, they will find the money for these things.
And the proof is in the pudding as well. I have clients now that are coming back with their 3rd babies, and they've done 2 pregnancy, maternity shoots with me as well. So I'm going on to my 4th, 5th, 6th orders with some clients.
So you're going to get the Russ Jackson frequent flyer as well.
But that shows that the value is there.
It works.
And the biggest thing, Jeremy, from the time when I was super stressed, burnt out, getting to a point where I wasn't even enjoying the photography, to now, the only thing that's changed was my mindset. Because at the time, my photography hasn't changed much. It's been refined, my style has changed slightly, but the quality of the photography hasn't changed since 2007. I've always been very, very...
I wouldn't put yourself down on that one. I've seen a good progression all the time.
But when I look at some of my favorite images I took back in 2015. The picture of the baby, that was 2018, I think. So, but what I'm trying to say...
We've had a 2-year hiatus of not doing very much. So, let's be fair on ourselves.
But what I'm trying to say is back then, I was still providing my clients with an exceptional service. I didn't have to change anything there. They still had a very high level of actual photography. The only thing that changed, obviously, was the pricing, offering product. But the big thing that changed was what my mindset.
Yeah.
So if I could go back to 2017 Russ and say, listen, in 5 years' time, you're going to be sitting with Jeremy Price doing a sales talk where you're telling everybody that you're averaging 1,700 to 2,000 pound sales, I would have said that no, wait, that can't be. Nobody will pay that much for photography. But here we are. And in 5 years' time, we'll probably be doing another talk where we start talking about £3,500 because we're going to be moving on to selling all art.
And I think that's the next progression. And certainly, I hope to welcome you back to be able to go through that too. And that's something we're working hard with Russ on, about integrating the reveal wall into wall art as well as the reveal box and the folio box.
Absolutely. So that's the next step. With me, I don't want to move away from reveal wall because it works so well.
Yeah.
But now we want to sort of integrate a system
to remove the ceiling.
So where I'm still making my profits and I'm still getting my margins by doing reveal wall, but then the wall art will be the extra on top
you've actually created a business budget, so you know what your costs are, you know what salary you want to earn, and this process works to meet all of that.
So with my maternity clients, quite often I will sell a basic package of the 5 different prints because a lot of women don't want 25 pictures of themselves. But I'm still okay with that because I've priced my entry-level collection at a point where I'm still profitable. I've done the sums, I've done my pricing calculator, and I know per client what I need to be making in order to be paying my salary, paying my tax, and running my business. So,
and that's really important. So many photographers that I meet and I ask, do you do a business plan? No, just a simple one. What are your costs? What are your salaries? Too many photographers don't include their salary in that. It's like, well, how are you getting paid? Well, profit. No, profit is what comes after the work.
You've got to pay yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if there was one tip that you could give to photographers right now about changing how they see their business, what would it be?
It's the money blocks. I think you've got to have absolute belief in your product. When I see this, I saw this for the first time yesterday, I'm so proud of it. And I know that it's worth it. And also just remember that once your clients have been through the experience, and it's not all about product, it's about the whole experience, and they have that in their hands, they know they know the value. It's absolutely there. So I think for me, the biggest hurdle over the years has been breaking those money blocks, knowing, but like I said, going back to 2000, I would never have believed in a million years that I would be averaging the orders that I'm averaging.
Well, the next
and I could only do that by selling products. I'd never have done that by selling digital software.
Well, the next stage for us is things like the wall art.
Absolutely.
Something like this piece that goes right down the middle of the, in between those places. You already said you've got space in your studio.
Yeah, so we're revamping our studio at the moment. We've sort of, after COVID, we thought about moving and we've decided to stay where we are. So the next thing is to revamp the studio and, to sell something you need to show it, right? So we're going to be getting some nice big wall art in the studio.
Awesome. Thank you, Russ. Thanks for your time again. So if you're here at the show today, come by, make sure you get yourself scanned. If you haven't made it down today, come down Tuesday. We're closed for the Queen's funeral on Monday, of course, but come down on Tuesday, get your badge scanned, come and get this incredible 96-inch piece of wall art, and we're here for the rest of the show. Thanks, Early.
Thank you.